Now, Sir Keir Starmer helped the hate preacher Abu Qatada fight his deportation in court back in 2008.
While representing the Islamist extremist, an immigration judge called the Labour leader's arguments fallacious.
Well, let's talk now to our GB News presenter, Nigel Farage. Morning, Nigel. Very good to see you. How are you?
Very well indeed, thank you. Yes,
Good.
Back from the jungle, been, given up alcohol. It's a whole new me.
Hang on, Nigel. Let me just rewind. You've given up alcohol.
Well,
You're having a laugh.
I did when I was in the jungle.
But you're back on it now.
You've made up for it since.
Normal service has been resumed.
Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Now, what about the Abu Qatada? Is this desperate tactics from the Tories raising this stuff, Nigel, when he was a lawyer? Barristers have to take some unpalatable cases, but Qatada was a pretty disgusting creature, urging a fatwa against Jewish people and Jewish children in this country.
The most important point here is it took us 10 years. Can you believe it? 10 years to deport Abu Qatada. And why? Well, it wasn't just because of Sir Keir Starmer, was it? It was because we'd signed up in 1998 to be part of the European Convention on Human Rights. So the Conservative Party can criticise Sir Keir, but this is the same Conservative Party that want to keep us as a part of the ECHR. And that's why, of course, you know, their policy of deporting people to Rwanda and everywhere else isn't happening. So it's just petty point scoring politically. Truth is, at the next election, when it comes to ECHR, when it comes to the primacy of UK courts being able to deport undesirables or illegals, doesn't matter who you vote for, nothing is going to change.
Some are saying that this just smacks of desperation on the part of the Tory party. You've had time now to catch up on everything that's going on whilst you've been away, and, well, it's all a bit of a mess, isn't it? Where are you going to be in the new year? Are you heading back into the political arena, Nigel, where you so like to be?
Well, you know, the big picture, of course, is that there is actually very little choice at the next election. We've got two forms of social democracy, two parties that, whatever they say to the electorate, support mass immigration, support the state getting bigger with every month that passes, support high taxation, offer nothing to 6 million men and women running their own businesses. There are very, very few choices. And I think we do deserve choices because I feel the country is in decline. As to how, I best influence that and try and change public opinion, well, I have to say, I think GB News is becoming now a very, very powerful agent for change in political debate, and I very much enjoy my work there. Whether I go back involved in frontline politics before the election, after the election, I honestly and truthfully haven't yet decided.
Can you nail this idea? I mean, you did say never when you were still in Australia. This idea that's still being talked about amongst some Tories. I talked to some very senior Tories only the other day, Nigel, saying the dream is they elbow Rishi aside and that there is a dream ticket of Nigel Farage and Boris Johnson. And I said, but I don't think they agree on very much. But nevertheless, they thought two men who are proven vote winners.
Well, I suppose what they see, I mean, the similarity with Boris Johnson and myself is that we're not vanilla. You know, we're not bland, we're not dull. And that's where the similarities end, though, isn't it? Because politically, you know, his fanatical commitment to net zero, despite the horrific cost of it, to manufacturing businesses, to ordinary households, I find that very difficult. And frankly, even though Boris Johnson won an election in 2019, on the Get Brexit Done ticket, something that I helped him with, he didn't, as Prime Minister, actually show that he really believed in it. We didn't diverge from the EU at all. And so it's really difficult on the big politics to see how Boris and I could put up a united front. So, yeah, you're right, Andrew. I've had lots of Tories saying, wouldn't it be marvellous? But I think in policy terms, quite a lot would have to change.
Have you had any direct contact with Boris Johnson?
I spoke to him. I spoke to him. 2 or 3 months ago. I spoke to him, and that was actually about the debanking issue.
Have you had a Christmas card from him, Nigel?
I have not, as yet, had a Christmas card from him, or even a thank you for standing aside 320 candidates in 2019.
Do you regret that now?
I regret that Brexit's not been implemented, Andrew, the way that I wanted it to be. But if I had stood against him and gone around the country and said the deal is rubbish, the danger was the Lib Dems would win 50, 60, 70 seats. We'd finish up with them propping up a Jeremy Corbyn government, a second referendum. And, you know, can you imagine if Corbyn had been Prime Minister, given the events in Israel and Gaza over the course of the last couple of months? It would have been absolutely dreadful. I made what I thought was the right decision at the time. I still believe it was. I just wish it had worked out rather better.
You just mentioned Israel-Gaza there, and we've been talking about Sir Tony Blair is in Israel to meet Benjamin Netanyahu. What do you make of that? What pressure do you think he can bring to bear on the situation?
Well, absolutely none. I don't see what credibility Tony Blair has in the Far East at all. You know, we know that the Iraq War, was pushed through Parliament by Blair, sold to the country on something that we subsequently learned to be a lie. And we don't mind our prime ministers risking the lives of British soldiers. We don't mind our prime minister going to war, but tell us the truth. Don't lie to us. If he told us we're doing it to get rid of Saddam and we've no idea what comes next, well, we wouldn't have liked it, but at least we'd have known the truth. And he then, of course, got this role as a peace envoy in the Middle East, which was an absolute farce. It cost taxpayers across the West quite a lot of money to sponsor. He achieved nothing. So, no, I don't see... I mean, apart from the fact that Tony Blair knows Netanyahu, I cannot see what he adds to this at all.
But he's known him a long time, so that could be, you know, a big point in his favour here. Not everybody can say they've known him 15 years.
Netanyahu is a veteran politician. A lot of people from America, from Britain and elsewhere know Netanyahu, have worked with Netanyahu. The same applies to quite a few commercial companies. I just don't see that the name Tony Blair linked with solutions in the Middle East can ever work.
I completely agree. Nigel, great to talk to you. Have a very nice Christmas, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
That's Nigel Farage, of course, GB News' very own.